My name is Hannah, and this is my year of less stuff. Hey y'all! Okay, I'm so excited about this video. I have been thinking about this for a while actually. I have mentioned before the phenomenon of realizing which one of a release of many colors or many types of items is the one that's you, or like the one that's me. So a range of lipsticks comes out and I'm like immediately, oh, that's the one I would get if I got one. Like that's the Hannah one. And that impulse can sometimes trigger one to actually buy the thing because you're like, oh, they made one for me. And the only reason you feel that way is because you're selecting among a group. You're picking the one that fits you the best, and then you're like, that's the one for me, I better buy it. So I'm going to be doing that in this video. I'm going to be going through a bunch of new releases. This is kind of like this week's version of the video about new releases. Like sometimes I do an anti-haul, sometimes I do a will I buy it type video or a do I want it type video. This is like a niche version of that. So I'm going through new releases in which there's like a choice, like a spectrum of colors. So I'm not going to be talking about like a new palette that just released because for that there's only one. I'm going to be talking about new releases that make you forced to choose between like a spectrum or like an array. And I'm going to go through them with you and tell you which one I would choose. If I were going to buy one, which one would I pick? Which is the one that's the most me? But in order to stave off the thing that can sometimes happen, which is that I'm like, ooh, it's so me, I've got to get it, and it's so new, and it's novel, and it's exciting, drama, 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 buy, buy, buy. Instead of doing that, I'm also going to tell you why I don't need the thing, why I don't need the release at all, and specifically why I don't need the one that I would pick if I were going to buy that one. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So I'm starting with this release from Glossier. This did pique my interest, and I like when this is interesting actually. This is an example of one for which I did exactly what I'm going to do on camera alone. So I'm like replicating a thing that I just do from time to time, and I already did it with this release. I went to the website, I looked very closely at all of the colors, I wavered about which one I would want. I finally settled on one. I put it in my cart, and then I didn't buy it. And that's what I'm going to do right now. And I thought about why I didn't need it, and I'll talk it through with you. So the green is very alluring. But if I were going to get one of these, it would be one of those neutral ones. So I was really looking at like the, oh no, the colors are written right here. So Terra, the burnt sienna, the red, that is very beautiful. And perhaps objectively the one that I would like the most. So it drew my attention. There's also the warm peach and the golden beige, valley and palm. All of those really attract me. But when I was looking at these and I was thinking about getting one, like I was thinking about getting one for review, TBH, TBTH, to be totally honest. I was thinking about getting one. Is that a thing? Did I just make that up? Am I like so cool now? So TBTH, I was thinking about getting one for review. And I was looking at those warmer colors, and then I was like, you know, I so frequently end up with a warm toned eye look unintentionally. When I reach into a palette, sometimes when I reach into my little single sort of floating jar eyeshadows, a lot of them are sort of like warm peachy or orangey or something. And I do love that look, and that's why I'm drawn to Terra and Valley and Palm in this release, because I do love that look. But increasingly lately, when I go to just do an eye look, a neutral eye look or a quick shimmery eye look, and I'm not paying that much attention, I'm like, oh, this is like a neutral bronze or this is like a neutral copper. I do the look and then it's very warm. And I'm so pale that sometimes it gives me that kind of like sicky look, which I do like, so I'm not against it as a rule. But I have chafed a little bit lately at how frequently I end up with that same sort of warm, coppery, or warm burnt red eye look, even when I wasn't intending to have that. I've just been thinking more about pushing myself in like a cooler toned or like a more neutral brown direction. So that is why I ended up feeling like I would want to choose between Pebble, which is a neutral taupe, and Echo, which is the brown. And I watched the little videos that they have on the Glossier website of the girls like blending them onto their lids. And Pebble, it's really beautiful, but it's so neutral that it almost doesn't exist. Like it's a very no makeup look. And I'm just not sure it would provide enough dimension on my lid for me to even want to bother putting it on. And that, by process of elimination, left Echo, a cocoa brown, which looks a bit dark in the swatches, but when I watched them blending it out, I was like, oh no, I could really make that work for me. And it's that beautiful mid-toned, richly toned brown. So that was the one I put into my cart. If I were to buy one of these, I would buy the brown, Echo, and I would try it out for you and give it a review. But the reason I didn't buy it is that I have so much beautiful eyeshadow. And if I want to do an all over the lid cocoa brown or soft brown, or even like a warm brown or cool brown look, I have powder shadows with which to do that. And I trust my ability to make a seamless and beautiful eye look very quickly with a powder shadow that I already own more than I trust this product, even though I've never tried it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I imagine this product being, I imagine it being the best it could possibly be. I imagine it being mind-blowingly amazing. Even if it's at that level, it's not gonna, there's nothing about it that will be better than the ones that than just like a basic brown powder shadow that I already have. It would be better if I didn't have any makeup, or if I was a very no makeup person. If I didn't have any eyeshadow and I was looking to like get into a quick, easy matte eyeshadow and I didn't have any brown or I didn't have any sienna colored eyeshadow, then maybe this would be ideal because they make it look very easy. It looks very effortless. It has a very cool girl look. But I'm saying I can create that look and I can do it in a way that I depend on as being like successful. Like I know that it's successful. I know I can do it successfully. So why would I take a chance on one that I could see so many things going wrong with? One is just that it could set while you're blending. I just don't know whether it would give me a seamless blend, and I do know that my powders do. I've struggled with liquid eyeshadows in the past for that reason, even really high-end ones. But then the other thing is, in the swatches, in the videos, some of these colors look really chalky. Really, like it's like this chalky matte finish. And I just don't love that journey for myself. And I'm just not willing to risk it for $18 and at the cost of bringing yet another thing into my collection. That's why I don't need this. Oh, this is a fun one. So these are palettes. Some palette releases have like multiple choices, and then I was able to put some of them in this video. So the new Huda pastel palettes. There's the rose pastels, the lilac pastels, and the mint pastels. And I didn't really pre-decide about anything except for the Glossier one because I was actually sort of considering buying it. I'm not considering buying these. I'm not really that into acquiring any eyeshadow these days. Maybe with some exceptions, but it doesn't excite me like it used to because I feel that my collection, as whittled down as it has become for me, is still too big. And I expect it to be much smaller by the end of the year, to be honest. I expect that by the end of the year, I'll have what would seem to me now like a minimalist palette collection. Probably won't ever be a true minimalist palette collection, but I can just feel myself moving more and more in the direction of pretty much just keeping my singles and maybe a palette or two. I just haven't gotten the gumption up yet to do that. But that's just to say that a palette like this with its whole own color story and its whole own packaging and taking up its whole own spot in my collection, it's kind of like the last thing that I want right now. So I didn't think about buying one of these before I put them on the list for this video, so I haven't made any decisions in advance. So looking at them now, if I had a palette like this, the most important thing to me would be the efficacy of the neutrals. Like I would want to be able to build a neutral look and then put a pop of color in if I wanted. And looking at the neutrals, the one that's in the green palette and the one that's in the rose palette look the most deep and satisfying to me. The neutral that's in the lilac palette, they're all too orange. So the lilac palette is out just because of those neutral mattes, because its deepest neutral matte is like a peach. It's like an orangey peach. And in the other two palettes, the deepest neutral matte is more of a brown. And I'm seeing now that in the rose palette, it's even more brown, I think. In the mint one, it looks like it's a little bit lighter. So already I'm inclined towards the rose one. And then on top of that, I know that those minty pastel greens make me look like a Bratz doll. I've had some in the past and I've tried to make them work and it's just very difficult for me. A pastel minty green look just isn't it for me. Whereas these rosy, shimmery, and even the yellows, that is something that I could get into. So I think that the rose pastel palette wins out of the three of these. If I were going to buy one, it would be that one. And I could see myself creating some very beautiful neutral looks with it and some very beautiful sort of dimensional pastel cool looks. I'm kind of talking myself into feeling like it would be a fun thing to play with. But as I discussed at the beginning of this segment, I just don't need another eyeshadow palette of any kind. And that is why I don't need this one. Oh, these are very beautiful and mysterious, I feel. The Zoeva, they look like highlighters, but they haven't been, I feel like, marketed as highlighters. This is a tough one. I did sort of think about this actually when I put it on the list, because there's this really rich, deep gold. There's a really rich, deep, like raspberry, strawberry one, and there's a really rich, deep bronze. And the pans look stunning. They are breathtaking. They give me feelings, but they're all dark for me. And right away the gold, sorry, I'm like smacking things while I tell you about this. Right away the gold is out because it's just too dark. And I know even much, much lighter golds than this are too dark on my skin. And so I wouldn't be able to do anything with it except for put it on my eyes. But the other two, because they could sort of stand in for like a blushy or a bronzy situation, could work. In the trend mood swatches, the bronze is the one that I would want because that pink cheek isn't always my jam. But in the trend mood swatches, the bronze looks so dark. Like it looks very dark brown. And even I don't think that I could make that work on my very, very pale skin. I think this is a situation where if I were going to buy one, it would probably be the wisest choice to go with the pink one, because then at least I could get like a really shiny editorial glimmery blush look, and I think that that would be stunning and it would be really fun. I mean, these powders look out of this world. That pattern, the indentation, wow, so well designed. But in my heart of hearts, what I really would want is the bronze. Like I would really want to make it work. I just could see myself getting it, putting it on, and it just looking like a streak of poop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reel myself in and say that if I were going to get one of these, it would be the pink one. But I've sort of answered the second half of the question already. The reason that I don't need any of these is that they're all too dark for me. Oh, the new NARS pigment powders. What are they? Pressed pigments and single eyeshadows from NARS. This is super interesting to me because I historically have been such a sucker for NARS. I was like a real NARS girl. A lot of the unwise high-priced makeup purchases that I made back before my no-buy year were NARS palettes and face palettes and stuff like that. I always couldn't resist, especially a new release from NARS. That is just to say that this is a release that I would have jumped on before my no-buy year. I would have had one of these in my cart instantly as soon as it was available. And in my current state, it's like just flying right over my head. I'm just like, oh, interesting. I don't feel like I even need to go to the store and swatch them. My only consideration of them is here in this video, and I feel like the choice is very clear. The bronze brown, the one that's like in the middle, in the middle of the picture I'm looking at, there's a red one and a bronze one. That bronze brown has the exact like ruddy undertone that I love as an all over the lid look. And it looks like a spot-on dupe in this swatch for the shadow called 24/7 that's in the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, the original one. I've depotted that palette, I've decluttered most of the shades, but I kept 24/7. It's a really densely packed, almost like super dry with a slick oily finish, shade with micro glitters in it, and it gives like a super ruddy, wet look brown all over the lid eye look that I've worn time and time again and demonstrated a lot of times. It's my go-to for events because it's such a weird sticky formula that even if my eyes water, it doesn't mess it up. So the reason I don't need this NARS single is that I already have a single eyeshadow that looks exactly the same and serves the exact same purpose. Another reason that I don't need it is that it's, even though I love this color, it's boring and sort of wouldn't be like a thing to splash out on a single eyeshadow for, because it's going to take up a bunch of space and it's going to cost a bunch of money, and I'm just not interested in that right now. Ooh, let's talk about these. This is the kind of thing that it's so fun to put in a video like this. These Pat McGrath glitter glosses, because this is something, again, like the NARS release that just went right over my head. I was like, not for me. I was mesmerized by the videos and by the swatches on Instagram, but I'm just not about to buy a densely packed glitter gloss at Pat McGrath prices in my life right now. I'm just not. But it's fun to think about which one I would buy if I were going to buy one. It's like a little fantasy shopping moment over here. And I think, I mean, my first thought, it looks from the swatch that I'm looking at like some of them are more glittery than others. Like some have bigger chunks of glitter. If I were going to get something like this, I'd go for the big chunks of glitter. I'm not about this Coral Liaison and Under Your Spell and Naked Rose. They seem like the more neutral ones, and they seem like they have finer glitters. It might just be the lighting, but that's what it looks like. I'm looking at the one in the back, like Venomistress, that's like poppin' with glitter and color. I think it would be between Bronze Seductress and Venomistress. Ooh, but look at Glowing Garnet in the back there. It looks like it's got orange and pink mixed together. I think, so the ones in the front are more neutral and a little bit more subtle. And they're probably the one in the front, the lavender one, is like a little more sheer and wouldn't show up as such a statement on the lips. I think if I were going to buy one of these, I would buy a statement one, like a color, one that's more of a color, and so that you've got this like color statement and the texture statement on the lips. I think it would either be Venomistress or Glowing Garnet. I would probably end up with Glowing Garnet because it's the one that has like more different colors of glitter. I feel like it's the one that's the most dramatic. And then Dreamscape, the gold one, I feel like maybe that's actually the most neutral one, but for the purposes of this release, I would skip over it. Why don't I need this? Because I just wouldn't really wear it that much. I have more gloss than you can shake a stick at, and I tend to reach for gloss on days when I want something a little bit more toned down to go with a stronger eye look. When I want something kind of natural on the lips, I'm sort of like might as well be without a lip product, but if I'm going to do that, might as well grab a gloss. Like that's kind of how I use glosses, and this product doesn't fit into that description, doesn't fit into that framework for use. So I don't need it. Let's look at these blush palettes from BH Cosmetics. This is the kind of thing, the kind of picture that's just ripe for this exercise because there are all of these slightly different variations of palettes and they're all laid out just like making you want to pick one. They're really making you want to discern which one would be the best for you because they know that as soon as you complete that process, you're going to want to buy that one. Okay, I had to turn off the camera to decide because I hadn't thought about this at all. And it's interesting, I leaned in and looked at the picture and the first two rows are just so, it's very pale and it's also very pink and orange. So it's like a lot of peachy blushes and a lot of pinky blushes. And I just don't really do that. I don't really like peachy and pinky blushes. I like super nude and super brown blushes. So none of the pans of four really popped out at me as being like the one that I would have designed. And that meant that I started looking for one shadow, one pan out of all of them that is like, I was like, if I were going to buy one, I would be buying it for one pan because I'm not buying it for a foursome because there isn't one that's perfect for me. So I was like, let me find the one pan that I would want more than any of the other pans and then see how I feel about the whole thing. So when I was doing that, the one pan that leapt out at me as being the one that I would the most like to use on my face is the dark brown in the top left-hand corner of the palette. It's in the whole bottom right-hand corner. So I think it's the one called Chocolate Marshmallow Truffle. I'll zoom in on the one that I'm talking about just in case I have the name wrong. So in the top left-hand corner, there's this kind of like warm, slightly soft, deep brown cheek product, and it looks shimmery. It looks like it probably has some shimmer in it. And I would have to use a light hand because I'm so fair, but I would love to put that on my cheeks. So then I checked out the rest of it, and that peachy one that is next to it would work on me. The deeper burgundy, like berry one would also work on me. Also, I would have to sheer it out, but it would give me that sort of bitten, wintry look, and that would be fun to play with. And I've always been curious about like a deep purple blush. I'm sure that this palette is designed for deep skin tones, so I would be sort of like messing with a little bit of an avant-garde choice for me. But if I were going to buy one, if I were forced to buy one of these, that's the one that I would choose. I would get the one that I think is called Chocolate Marshmallow Truffle all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. Why don't I need this? Because I just bought 5 cream blushes last month and all I use is cream blush anymore. Ooh, I'm making myself choose between these two really pretty Laura Mercier highlighters. They are so pretty. And I talked about these already in either an anti-haul or a will I buy it or do I like it recently as just something that's like so pretty. And the reason that I think I anti-hauled them, the reason I did that is just that it's the same thing. I have only two powder highlighters to my name, and I only really use one of them, and I rarely even use it because I'm always using creams on my cheeks these days. It's been like that for a couple of months at this point. So the last thing I need right now is another powder highlighter. But if I were going to get this, I think I would get the darker one. And I would think of it as like a really glowy blush. It's just exquisite. The lighter one does look so pretty, but I just find that, especially with really glowy pigmented highlighters, they don't layer well over other products. They fight with each other. And so unless it's super sheer, what I want is a glowy blush. I want a highlighter that has the pigment in it rather than one that's like going to be on top of like a bronzer on top of a blush on top and a highlight on top of that. It just, to me, it never looks quite right. It always makes a little bit of a dirty, like grubby look on my cheeks. So I think I would have more success with the darker one. It's so pretty. Okay, so I pulled up actually the ColourPop website because they just released a gloss, the Luxe Gloss, and I decided that I wanted to talk about which gloss I would buy if I were going to buy one of these glosses. Like I haven't even decided yet. I'm just going to look through and do like, again, this sort of pretend decision making. So Blissful is too pink, Ticklish is too pink, Just Cuddle's too pale. I have kind of pigmented lips, so I always look weird if I put, like, Marc Jacobs Sugar Sugar always made me look disgusting because it would just settle in the cracks, and it was like it was trying to blank out my lips, but then the natural color would come through and it was very patchy. So those super light ones aren't it for me. Come Through looks really pretty. That looks kind of like a brown tinted My Lips But Better type of thing for me. Yeah, Tied Up is too purple. Overnight is too pale, I think. And I think Slow Motion would be so dark on me that it would like get a little bit out of control. So yeah, I would probably get Come Through. But the reason that I don't need this is that I just don't feel like buying it. Like I'm looking at them, they look beautiful. The swatches look beautiful. I do wish I had it in front of me so I could like put it on. You know what I mean? It is compelling me. It makes me want it sort of in this abstract way. But the idea of actually putting it in my cart and checking out and paying $8 for it is just so wearying. When I have lip glosses that work perfectly fine, it just hasn't gripped me. It's very pretty. It's pretty and perfect in every way. It just hasn't gripped me and I don't need it. Something that has gripped me, I've saved for last the only thing that I feel like I might actually act on at some point in the future. Not soon, and I'll tell you why. I'll explain. Here's what happened. Charlotte Tilbury released another 2 shades of her Magic Light Wand. So when I did my cream cheek haul in January, the cream highlighter that I bought is the Charlotte Tilbury, what's it called? Beauty Light Wand in the color Spotlight, which is like just the neutral champagne-y one. And I love it because it's very close to the color of my skin, but I can mix it with blushes to make like a blushy highlight that sets down. I can use it on my eyes and it helps things to set onto my eyes as well. Cream products, I mean. But I've been very drawn to the ones that have color in them. So formerly she only had Pink Gasm and Peach Gasm. So a pinky blush, highlighting blush in the same format, and a peachier one. And then there's Gold Gasm, which I think would be too dark on me because it's meant to be highlighting. It's not meant to be like blushing. But I was thinking like one day I'll buy Peach Gasm. I feel like Pink Gasm is a little bit too pink for me. But I would love to have Peach Gasm. I would love to have a blush in that format rather than mixing the highlighting wand that I have with cream blushes. I mean, that's fun too, but it would just be, it would be right up my alley. I would love wearing it. It would be so awesome. But it's such a small amount of product that I feel like what I decided to do was to just use up the one that I have and then buy a different one in a different color. Just like wait to experiment with the colors until I've used one up instead of just buying another one of the thing that I already love, which is something that I'm trying not to do anymore these days. And the other thing is Peach Gasm, both of them are just like a little bit chipper color-wise for me. But then she released more. She released Pillow Talk Medium and Pillow Talk Original. And Pillow Talk Original is a nude pink, and Pillow Talk Medium is a deeper sort of nude peach. And that's the one. If I were going to buy another beauty light wand from Charlotte Tilbury, I'd buy Pillow Talk Medium. It is just such a yummy looking highlighting blush. I know I love the product already, and having it in this color would be amazing. It's like a golden, rich, nudie, Pillow Talky, peachy, pinky thing. I totally want it, and I'm thinking down the line that I might buy it. When it comes time for me to replace the one that I've been using, this is what I'll do. I'll probably buy Pillow Talk Medium. And that is it. Those are the things that I would buy and the reasons that I don't need them when looking at a bunch of new releases that provide the option of choice. I feel like sometimes that choosing makes us, it like gives us a kind of feeling of ownership or familiarity over a new release. And that gives us like that emotional connection, and that makes us more prone to spend our hard-earned money and to allow the brand to take up a little more space in our homes. And so I think it can be a good exercise to think about the thing that happens after you go through and decide which one you would buy of any given thing, which is that you tell yourself why you don't actually need to do that, even though there is one in the group that seems like it would be the best one for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would buy if you were gonna buy any of these and which color you would, or maybe you already have. Did you choose the one that I would have gotten? Let me know. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.